So I have already cut the chicken. I want to prepare stew and white rice. So this when I was just washing the chicken, though I will also make some fish roll because I have some a few the sauce that I have for fish roll that I used last time that I did not finish. So I have to put it in the freezer. So I'm going to use it. So since then my children have been disturbing me to make fish roll for them. I was like, okay, since you guys want fish roll, why I will be cooking this, I'll also make the fish roll as well. So I have to go ahead. Immediately I finish cutting the chicken, I have to wash the chicken. I added some onions, garlic, ginger and thyme, and also curry, salt. This is the chicken. I also added some seasoning powder. This one I put it on the gas. So I was like, okay, let me just wash the chopping boards. I have to wash the chopping board. This one I was just washing it. Immediately I finish washing it, I have to clean up the knife. I said, okay, let me wash up the bowl. So I have to wash up because the chicken was a little bit, there's a little bit fat in the chicken. So this when after washing it, I have to start by cleaning up the sink. So immediately I finished cleaning up the sink, I was like, okay, this is the food processor that I want to use to blend the tomato. First of all, blend the tomatoes with these blenders. So I was like, okay, let me just go ahead to check the chicken and mix it together. So this is when I just mix up this chicken together. So it is time for me to bring out my tomatoes and bell pepper and also chili pepper. So I always like to put it in the freezer, so anytime I want to use it, it will be okay. They say I have to take my fresh tomato. It is time. I was like, okay, this is when I was just washing it. Immediately I finished, I was like, let me add some salt and wash it properly. So I added some sauce. So this when I was just putting in the blender, I make sure that I remove the seed because I don't know reason why I always like to remove the seed because I don't always like to put in the seed. You always make the stew too bitter. So I went ahead to check the chicken. I added a little bit of water. So this is the tomato paste. I wanted to use two, but I was like, let me just use one because I don't want the stew to be much. So I added it in a bowl. I added a little bit of water to dissolve it and put it aside. So the chicken is now done. I brought out the chicken. I pour it in the bowl and set it aside. So this particular pot right now, I'm going to be using it to prepare the stew. So I have to wash up the pot immediately and put it on the fire so that the pot will dry up. Immediately the pot dried, the water dry from the pot, I have to add some vegetable oil and the tomato paste, onion and seasoning cube. This is the fresh tomatoes. I have to pour in the fresh tomato and also and stir and cover it. So I was like, okay, let me just wash up the blender immediately because I will be using this blender to blend my the food processor to I will be using it for the flour because I always find it easy while using it to to mix up my flour and other things. So I added some curry, salt and sugar and a cup of vegetable oil. This is a 4 cup of flour. So this one I was just blend. While I was blending, I went ahead to check the stew and stir it and also cover it. I came back. I have to come and check if I came back to check the dough. So this is the time for me to pour in the chicken in the stew. This is hard chicken. I don't always like to fry my hard chicken. Anytime I want to use it to cook stew, I always like to put it like that without frying it. It's only soft chicken I always like to fry. So by then now the dough is now ready. I have to pour it in a pan and cover it. I left it about 15 minutes and put it aside. I left it about 15 minutes. I came back to check the stew. The stew is almost ready. I stir it and cover. It is time. I have to set it aside. I was like, okay, this is time for me to cook the rice. I brought out the rice. I put some rice in the cup. I have to wash it. I wash it properly about 3 times to make sure that there is no starch. So I have to pour in a hot water. First of all, check the tap if hot water is coming out. I added some hot water. I put it on the fire. I went ahead to check the dough. It is now 15 minutes. So this is when I was just this is the dough that I'll be using for the fish roll. So by then I added some filling. I have to fill it and also cut it. This is it now. I have to this is when I was just egg washing the fish roll. So I make sure that I egg wash it one after the other. It is time for me to put it in the oven. I have already put on the oven for about 10 minutes. Yeah, so now our rice is now ready, and I was dishing the rice. This is when I was just dishing it because I was so hungry. So after that, I have to dish for my children. I put for Michelle. So this when I was just eating, I couldn't be able to wait to take it to the dining. So I was like, miracle came around. I have to ask him to come and eat. He was just running away. I don't know the reason why. So by then I gave them their own. This when they were just eating. Thank you guys for watching. Our fish show is now ready. Can you like and also subscribe?